All the quantum computing on the planet is controlled by America. We are the author of the mark of the beast, America is, and have biometric linkage to every individual that buys or sells anything. Anything that China thinks they have, we have in spades, 60 years ahead of them. Now the Russians, of course, could use nuclear weapons, but we have level 10 Tesla weapons that could literally set up a plasma explosion over any city in Russia without even firing a missile. They want us to believe that we're going to fight a 1950s or 60s war when America is in the 22nd century.
Who wants us to believe that we're going to fight a 1960s and 70s war?
The globalists want, and the news media want us to believe that America doesn't have this advanced technology. There's not a person living that has ever had a breath or a pulse that knows more about the mark of the beast than I do. Was brought supernaturally to Colorado Springs over 20 years ago, worked there under Q-level security clearance, took care of employees there, and have been inside the quantum array of the actual supercomputer for the mark itself. I've been inside it, talked to technicians. I know, and I have a photographic memory and advanced technological training. But I know a lot more than that. What I see coming is they're going to have a series of cataclysms that will all be scripted so that they can create the type of crisis that people will buy into or believe, so they will hand over all of their authority and creating capital and credit to an international agency that will use biometrics. The government wants prescient control of all transactions, all exchanges, all transfer of wealth. And I know in exquisite detail everything about it. The globalists don't care what system as long as they have control of it. But what we need to do is see beyond the story that they want us to know and realize that they do want us to spread leaks. Because it's a lower level of the story, because there's a higher levels of space chess going on here. The top organization that runs the world is the Council of the Druids. There's 13 chairs in that council. The 13th chair is sat in by a man called the Pindar, which means the penis of the dragon. And he works directly for Satan, the bearer of light, the galactic cosmic demonic power that controls the evil dark side in this area of the cosmos. And he has underneath him many organizations that sit on this council, including the Jesuits and the bankers. The banking has been all handed down through the Babylonian, Talmudic, Satanistic Jews. And they aren't Jews, really. They're, as Jesus would say, the synagogue of Satan. So all the money coined in all of the Rothschild-type banks in the world is coined under the control, and everything has been hypothecated and advanced and controlled and owned by the Vatican. And the Vatican owns the banker. They are, these Babylonian Talmudic people are basically just the bagman for the mobsters that control the world banking system and the world religions. They're all controls for the Vatican.
Okay, so you're saying there's 13 people that control all of the nations of the world and all of the religions of the world?
Right, yeah, well, they control it, so there's powers. They're even above the Vatican and the World Council of Churches and all these other organizations. Even the so-called Illuminati are beneath the council, the Druidic Council. And there's representatives that sit on the council, like the Black Pope, the Jesuit Pope, is one of the 13. The head of the whole CEO is the Pindar. These are very real. This is not imaginary. Our world is completely controlled by Satan. No one advances anywhere in government unless they have been totally vetted by the dark side. No one in any country. That's why people don't realize how, when Jesus was taken high above the temple, why Satan said he can own every empire. He wasn't telling a lie when he confronted God. I mean, he's not going to confront God and tell a lie, because God's going to know the difference. Jesus knew the difference. He was just given a choice. Worship me and I'll pull this away from you. You don't have to go through the suffering. So what's happening here on earth right now is the end of the lease for Satan is coming, and his last thrust is a biometric, omniscient, omnipotent control system, and he has to have these various levels of dialectics and even leak it so that we will believe the lie that somehow the Federal Reserve is going to turn on America. The Federal Reserve is America. We're the new Atlantis. They actually visualized and actually used transdimensional channeling that this was going to be the new Atlantis, and all the high-level Masons knew that this was the reincarnation of ancient Atlantis with all the powers to create the New World Order. So America is the center post of the New World Order. It's not peripheral. It's the absolute center. It's the origin of the mark of the beast comes from America. You kind of see a bigger picture. When I hear these stories being circulated through DHS, they need to understand that what's really going on is that we're marching very, very quickly toward a world peace treaty in the Middle East. That's why all these nations are literally trying to polarize the situation, including us supporting people that are natural enemies like Al-Qaeda. America is doing this because they want to polarize the situation so that they can bring about the treaty and eventually a peace treaty that will cause every nation to become obedient to a biometric world currency and a new world police force. So they want to make sure that there's Chinese troops, American troops, and European troops, all controlled by the UN. They will have infinite power, and they'll own tons of land in every country on earth, including the ocean floor. When I hear about the Federal Reserve saying they're going to pull it on America, it's like the Federal Reserve is America. America was founded by high-level satanic Masons. It wasn't founded by Christians. There were only Christians there in name only. If you actually look at the history of the deists, like Thomas Jefferson and these other characters, these people were not Christians in the actual word of the law. If you want to actually make a checklist of what a Christian is, they were deists, and they were high-level Masons, and they were very intelligent, and they were channeling transdimensional demonic entities. And they had a purpose, and they had very little resistance because they had the collaboration of the King of Britain and the European royalty after the feigned so-called revolution, which was not true at all because they came back underneath the control of the crown very shortly afterwards. The founding fathers were high-level deists, D-E-I-S. They believed in gods. There were many gods like high-level Masons. They were deists. In fact, you actually can read a Jeffersonian Bible that actually has all the scriptures and all the red-letter words of Jesus cut right out of it. And that's why they even feigned the idea of not having national banks, but in actual fact, every time they've actually managed to crawl in and get control through the high-level Masons. So the high-level Masons have made sure that America is completely under the power through the laws. The British Authorized Registry is a bar association. Every lawyer in America is under the crown. Same way in Russia. Every single member of the bar association in Russia is under the British crown. Same in China. The royalty of Britain is under the Vatican, period. All territory and all property of every principality and power in Europe and all of their functionary countries that they founded are under the control of the Vatican and totally owns all these territories, peoples, and currencies. They're all owned by the Vatican. There's many other aspects. The media. I mean, look at the media. It's all controlled by these high-level Satanists, too. If you go to Hollywood, you find that they're all Sabbatean Satanists. You know, basically 99%. They'll call them Jews. They're not Jews at all. They're Khazarian Satanists. They're ancient Babylonian warlocks. It's completely Babylonian, pagan, and Satanistic. I've had Jews from the Shivas in New York have actually told me straight up when I wanted them to teach me 25 years ago how to speak Hebrew, because I thought, oh, well, I got some Cohen in my family going back 2,000 years ago. They were real Jews. Not Jews, but real Hebrews, because the Cohens, by the way, are not Jews, they're Hebrews. He told me, we're warlocks. You guys don't get it. Your Christians don't understand it. We're closer to Harry Potter. Every crisis is contrived. Even the weather we have here, the contrived drought we have off our coast, is to make certain we have a drought that accepts environmental issues like global warming as the reason why we're in trouble. Pay attention to the fact that the water coming isn't radioactive because they won't let rain from the North Pacific come in here, because people would panic if they've got nosebleeds, abdominal bloating, vertigo. Yeah, so what I'm saying is when you look at the big picture here, it's standard operational procedure, but it's part of the game. What you're hearing from me is not the same as what you're going to hear from others. You'll hear from Gerald Celente one thing or another, and they'll give you a little piece of one of the layers of this battle. But at the top layer, you got Satan actually ready to put a mark on every individual and have biometric currency and have a cybernetic world copy of everybody that's considered an icon or a node, and have total control over all transactions on the planet, and everything else is illegal, including gold, silver, and bartering. Any cryptocurrency, everything else, it'll be illegal, including even cash in your pocket.
Don't take this the wrong way. Please don't take this the wrong way. But do you really believe all of that?
Absolutely. I got proof for it, too. It's taken a long road to get there, and I'll tell you what, the worst thing was realizing that even the revolution was feigned, and from 1913, we were functionally bankrupt. And our nation has been bankrupt since 1933, with every single person's birth certificate chattelized as a collateral against the debt of America. So America has been totally stripped to the bone like a Thanksgiving turkey. And the poor people of America don't understand the real game that's going on here, because the layers are hard for people to peel back, and the Bill of Rights and so on. But what they've done is made them null and void. They've turned us into a corporation, and we're also functionally bankrupt. So we have a administrative dictator that's acting as a functionary of these bankers. That's what Obama is. It's very disturbing, but it's true. And the thing is, once people realize what's going on, they also realize what stories are being put out there or what they wanted to get out. Even if they do something, they want you to believe they're a lie at a specific level so they can manipulate at another level. And the thing is, I've had so many contacts. IAQ level security clearance in 20 years ago in Colorado Springs at CCOM, Colorado Center for Ahmed, and U.S. Space Command Strategic Defense, Star Wars, and even in the last number of years when I've been doing my show full-time and so on, I have so many contacts, and also on a spiritual level, supernatural access to information, and all of it correlates exactly that this is what's really going on. That's why people have no idea of the lockdown, just how tight things are. Even the scripted actions of Putin And Yanukovych, like Yanukovych takes off like a little child, just like Gorbachev, as if he's going to disappear to his dacha in the Black Sea and no one's going to find him in special forces. If Russia's special forces or our special forces want you dead, you've got 48 hours to live. This idea that somehow Gorbachev could get away or Yanukovych could get away, they just let him go, they didn't stop him in his plane, and then all of a sudden now the Russians are in there. It's all scripted. It's all scripted. Everything is controlled. It's terrible, but it's true. You know, they don't even understand, for example, at the beginning of Gulf War II, they had 6 operational ground-based robots, warrior robots. At the end of Gulf War II, they had 26,000 that they withdrew from Iraq, 2007. I was recruited in 1977 at UCLA to create battlefield super warriors that are cybernetic with genetic enhancement. And they're going to use a female template, genetically engineering, using cybernetic and genetic enhancement. And I know in exquisite detail everything that they're doing. And it's, you know, the average person just can't conceive this because they never had the contact. Well, I have the technical background as well as the first-hand, not second-hand contact. And I turned the buggers down back in 77. That's a long time ago, 37 years. And they were working in Moscow in collaboration with Russians. The Russians were collaborating with us in the Super Soldier program all along, right through the Cold War. Interesting, hey? Yeah, what's really happening and what people think's happening is quite a bit different. Even these narrow space objects, I took care of employees working in Space Command, and they, first thing they told us, they said, we control every cubic centimeter of space between here and Mars. I said, you mean the moon? He said, they got real angry with me. This is back in July 10th, 1994. Next year and a half, because they told me everything, you know, straight up. They said, because we don't want you to freak out when you find out what's really going on.
Again, I'm speechless. Okay, but you're talking about layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers.
Reality is a kick in the head, let's put it that way. Because people will lose, they'll get to a certain level, and if they don't understand the spiritual side of this and the ancient technology of avataring literally the flesh of human beings to control them, they will never understand the royal families or the global control by transdimensional, ultra-intelligent, evil entities. They'll never understand it. The real issue is we've got a peace treaty coming, which Satan is absolutely determined to put a blood sacrifice on the Temple Mount, which will start the last 7 years of secular history, because he thinks he's going to win. And of course, it's like Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. All these politicians and Hollywood people and people stuffing their pockets think that whatever they want is okay, because that's the rule of their own will is God. They don't want to cede their will to the Creator God, because that's the only way you could do good, is to hear God and do it. Do what God says. So we have greedy, self-centered, narcissistic maniacs who are determined that they want everything, even if they have to destroy the earth to get it. So the ultimate survival thing is not just even survival skills, it's surviving the spiritual thing that's coming, because people are going to be deceived that this financial thing is part of a great delusion. And this Pope is part of it. I mean, the Vatican is a very great part of it. This guy that's the Black Pope is one of the most evil men in history. This Kurt guy, Francis. Yeah, it's breathtaking, isn't it? And every religion on earth, by the way, that includes Christian, Buddhist, atheist, transhumanist, every single public religion on earth is either infiltrated or controlled by Satanism. Every single one. They don't want to hear that because it's, oh, that's my religion. I said, no, that's what you were taught. Jesus didn't teach that. So I asked people questions like, you know, what soul did Jesus have? And they said, well, I don't know. I said, how about his soul was the Holy Spirit? What was the Holy Spirit? It's just another form of God. There's not 3 persons, there's only one. It's a very different perspective on things, but God's called me to have a very specific way of bringing things back to simplicity and truth rather than foolishness. So Dan, when they told you about these events, about this one coming up in September, did he give you any more specifics?
We can just jump back like that.
Well, yeah, I'm jumping back because I don't know. I didn't get any other questions from me, because what I did is I did a data dump, and I put people in a state of shock, partly because, you know, you're going to have to go back and pray on this. You don't have to accept anything I said, or even I call the spirit words of what I said, because some of it's patently pretty damned offensive to a person's previous belief system, whether it's the idea that our founding fathers were Satanists. But you see, the real world that people want to believe, the world that they want to believe, never existed. The world that does exist is the world that I know. Both beautiful and both wonderful and horrifying. But it's certainly different than what people believe.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on the fact that the entire population of the world was controlled by 3 people that somehow tied to the Vatican.
Yeah, it is. What Putin's doing now is he's actually talking about possibly resurrecting the Tsarina, because they have a direct blood descendant of the Tsar and Tsarina that actually could be reinstituted in a crown in Russia as a Tsarina.
Please don't take this the wrong way, because it's your radio show and everything, but you really believe all of that?
It's not a belief system. You see, belief is It cannot be blind. It has to be based on fact. Everything is a fraud, and people basically are like little children that don't want to believe it because it's too awful.